Welcome to Black Immigrant Careers, how we got into tech. This is a very chill conversation. It's not a big event or anything. I've just had the opportunity of talking to a few tech girls, and I always just realize that in at communication, we hear immigrants saying, "How can I get into tech? What are the roles in tech?" Meanwhile, for us who've been in industry for a little bit, we're like, it's actually not that hard. And so we wanted to bring one of our conversations live to you, or one of our banter conversations, and just run you through how we got into tech, the challenges we've faced, the different roles we've had in tech, and just chit chat together. It's Black History Month. We know that representation matters. And a lot of times when people think tech, they don't think of faces like myself and Uduaks. So we wanted to bring that front and center and just talk about the different roles we've had when we moved to Canada, how we got our first roles, and how we've gotten into the roles that we are right now. It's going to be a really real conversation. It's really just chit chat and banter. We're going to talk about compensation. We're going to talk about racism, all the tea. But all of this is going to happen in 30 minutes. Yes. So if you knew you've never seen my face before, you somehow just happened to get on this live. My name is Janey Booz. I wear many hats when it comes to supporting underrepresented, underestimated immigrants and professionals in Canada. In my day job, I support Black founders, and I'm also the founder of Immunication, which is Canada's premier network of immigrant professionals who are learning together in community to make a better place for us all immigrants. I'm really not going to rant. I don't plan to. Definitely check out immunication.com. And without further ado, I am just going to welcome our guest for today. But just so you know, it's banter style. So I'm actually a guest and a host. So think of it as two podcast hosts, if you will, just chatting about their life in tech. Without further ado, what's up, Uduak? Show your face. Yell.
Hi, Janey. How are you?
I'm good. Honestly, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. I can't wait. It's family day weekend this weekend. So I'm looking forward.
Honestly, looking forward to it. Yeah,
How are you? How's your day been?
it was good. It was good, And like you said, it's almost Friday, so yay.
It's almost Friday. Like typically, I'll say if it was Thursday, I would say, oh, it's Friday Junior, but it is still Wednesday, so I'll save that for later. But no, really, we only have 30 minutes, so let's jump straight into the tea. Um, Quickly introduce yourself for the people who didn't get a chance to read your bio on the flyer. How would you introduce yourself?
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Uduak Shoni, and I am a cloud security consultant with Accenture. I have a lot of different experiences, in tech and everything. We'll get to talk about that later. But it's ranging from training, so technical training, database management, IT operations, and now my baby, cloud security.
My
So
baby. It's
that's
like, are you gonna say me? And you're like, okay. Yuri, when did you come to Canada?
So I moved to Canada end of 2017. It was pretty cold. I
End
remember.
of 2017. That's like
Yeah.
a long time thing now, especially as we've been in the pandemic for almost 3 years.
You know?
I always add an extra year to the pandemic situation. Okay, so speaking about like your career in tech, walk us through what that has been like. What was your first role in tech generally, and then in Canada, what was your first job?
Okay. So let's talk about my first role in tech. I graduated from computer science. I'd always loved computers and everything computers and all that stuff. So I chose to do computer science. And then, fresh out of school, I started working with a consulting firm. And it was a matrix organization. So I was a junior developer as well as an SAP business objects consultant. So that was what my first job was. Sometimes, because it was technically two departments, so
Yeah.
sometimes it's like you're trying to satisfy two people and make everybody happy. It was weird, but it was really fun because I got to experience a lot about all those things I've learned in school. This is how it works in the real world. This is what people care about. This is how you can solve their problems. So it was a good learning experience.
No, that's nice.
Um,
Okay.
and then for Canada, my first job, so I got my first job, I think a month or two after I got into Canada, but it was not in tech. Ah.
Tell us.
So my uncle that I lived with at the time, he took me to a bunch of different employment agencies, and I was just open to at least just getting something so I could have some income. So I was working as an admin assistant. I was making $20 an hour, which is not bad.
Let's go for
You're
2017. See,
For
above
your
minimum wage.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said above minimum wage for sure.
Well, yes, it was above minimum wage for sure. But again, it was also a good way to, go out into Canada, get used to, transit system, the cold, knowing how to dress up. I ended up always having a backpack full of like extra mittens, extra sweaters, extra anything. You just never know, you know? So that was what my first job in Canada was. It was a contract position. I only did it for like maybe 2 months,
Uh-huh.
and then I got my first tech job.
Really? You only did your first temp job for 2 months? No wonder you're bougie.
What?
You have to slave in the snow for a little bit. My very first job in Canada. Okay, my very first job in Canada was an internship. So I actually came as an international student. I think that's the difference because you came as a permanent resident, correct?
Yes, I did.
And I came as an international student. So I was very like, I didn't have a choice, first of all, but I was actually very intentional about getting a program that had a co op. So my first job really was I was working for this little magazine press magazine that published local publications in the
Yeah.
Etobicoke Shore area, and my job was to sell ads on that magazine. So the entire like Paklan Etobicoke strip, I would go through different small businesses asking them if they want to advertise in our magazine. I would do interviews and things of that sort for the magazine, and it was free. It was unpaid.
That's the real hustle right there.
But as a true Nigerian, that only lasted a couple months. I was like, no, 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 we need to make money. So I got an internship with a media organization where I was because my program was advertising. So that was so at first, actually, background, I was running away from tech. So which is also very important to say because obviously we both had tech degrees, but and then you continued in the tech path, right? A lot of but I was trying to run away from tech at the point where I was like, this because I was a network engineer, I was fixing routers and crimping cables. I was like, no, 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 this is not going so when I came here, I was trying to do something more fun, like digital marketing. And then after all those internships, when I realized that, man, digital marketing and advertising doesn't really pay like that, I had to find my way back into tech. So now speaking about you, and after doing the 2 months of the temp job, how did you now get your first role? How did it work?
So while I was, in this whole process before I got my first job, bear in mind I was also still in school. Provided yes, I didn't have to go physically because it was long distance, but I was also studying for my MBA at the time. So I divided my day into like time blocks, and I have some time dedicated. Ooh, I want some water as well, but we'll get to that. I divide my day into time blocks: time for studying, time for checking the internet and looking for organizations that I wanted to work for, that had things that I'd be interested in, because I'm someone who gets bored easily if it's not challenging or anything. So I then stumbled onto a company multiple times actually called FDM Group at the time, and where I met amongst other people, Janey as well. So it was
You didn't catch that's me?
so how I and on their website, it was just like some hidden corner of their website. They had internal careers, and then I applied for one of the roles they had, to be a technical trainer, because that's one of my other passions, which is helping other people grow their own talent. And especially since it's tech, it's like, come on, you have to do it. So that's how I found out about the job. And of
Okay.
course, reaching out to people who worked in the company at the time to find out more about what their experience was like.
Did
You
you do
know,
that before applying, like to reach out to the people who worked in the company?
yes, I did it. You know what? Honestly, it's been so long now, so I don't remember if it was before or right after I submitted the application. But I know that I reached out to people who were working in that organization at the time to find out more.
Two very key points you said. Like, I think that like it's so important. This is the stuff we train and teach in communication, and which you guys please check it out later. But is the fact that you actually dedicated time and were intentional about your job search. I have seen it time and time again where people are just like, any day I'm feeling hot or I'm feeling good, I just apply sporadically. It's like so hard right now. First of all, the labor market is interesting, but it's so easy right now for folks to just apply online because there's easy apply compared to like old days where if you had to apply to a job, you literally have to send them a letter and go like mail it or like submit it yourself, and then there's skin in the game. Now with like a job posting, 10,000 people could apply in the
Yeah.
first hours. So that intentionality about like I'm narrowing it down to the industry, the type of roles you wanted to, and creating time blocks for yourself to apply was a good point you made there. And it just shows the truth is like looking for a job is a job in itself. So if you
It
don't
is, honestly. It
strategic
is.
time, it's not going to happen. But another piece I wanted to highlight too was the fact that you said that you talk to people in the organization. The benefit of that for a lot of immigrant professionals is subconsciously when you actually have those coffee chats with people in the organization, you learn how they speak, even though you might know the tech and you might know the job, how they relate to certain things and who to actually like. You will know who's probably going to interview you and what they like, what they don't like, and that gives you
Yeah.
a upper edge. And subconsciously, when those people are interviewing you, they just don't know it or realize it, but they're like, this person is a fit for sure. But it's because you got that leg up from talking to other people. So no, thank you for sharing that. So what was you said the role was like technical trainer, right? What was the compensation range at the time for the role?
Um, so at the time, I'd say, base plus bonus, we're coming to about 80 something K a year.
That is dope.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So now we've covered your technical training role and how much it costs and how you got that job. Hmm. Do you have any questions for me?
No. I
Hi
wasn't
guys,
ready.
life is over. No, it's okay. And also, I can just share like in my first tech job. So after I had done the advertising role, I realized the advertising at the time, entry level roles, so account executive, those type of roles pay like between 40 to 48K a year. So this was me. I had taken like after doing two advertising programs and then I went to do my master's. When I was so first of all, advertising was also not diverse at all. Like I would go to a room and be sat in between a lot of white people throughout the entire interview process. I wouldn't see one black person, and maybe if I saw a black person, they were like an executive assistant or something of that sort, like not in the actual interview.
Mhm.
And then I would get responses like you're overqualified. And I'm like, what did I do? And but then also when I now look at like how much the pay was for the roles, like 40, 45K, and I was calculating that I had just taken international student loans of 25,000 USD. I was like, no, this is not going to add up. So I need to figure out
Math ain't working.
I needed to figure out what I could do differently other than advertising. And especially at that point, advertising wasn't even wanting me from all the interviews I had done. So that was when I said, okay, let me now go find something else. And my strategy was not just applying to jobs. I tried it, it wasn't working for me. I never really got past the first phone interview with the recruitment agency. So I decided to start like networking hard. Like I was on coffee chats like every week I had like maybe 2 full days of coffee chats and I'll book it back to back because I was a student. So once I take the train downtown, you best believe I was putting in like 3, 4 meetings in that time I got downtown. And then one of my mentors introduced me to a networking event. And this fella was next to her. She introduced me to him saying, hey, this is Janey. She really loves like the business side of tech and the humanity aspect. And I was just wondering, because I know your son works at this organization. And that was how I found FDM Group. So somebody introduced me. And I think for me, my process, the learning for me then was as immigrants, we just need to like tap into people's network. Do not be ashamed. Like shoot your shot, open your mouth, and just say what you're looking for, so that you can leverage other people's social capital in getting your first job. Because I had applied. Funny thing, I had already applied to FDM before, but I didn't hear from anybody because my application was probably just sitting somewhere else. But when I
Yeah.
now got the in through that man's son, that definitely helped me get more front time. And of course, they hired me. So that was my first job, and it was a recruitment to sales role. So at first, I wanted to do something in business relationship management, so
Mhm.
partnership side, but that role was no longer available. And then I had to now do the recruitment bit, which I absolutely love because it now taught me how to hire tech people, like all the skill sets to look out for and all of that. And then obviously tech sales taught me how to place tech people, but also how to get money into the organization. And for my role, just I wanted to just be transparent and talk about the compensation. I believe like base plus commission was around like 65, 70 from that from early recruiter account executive role. And that was the range for that job. If you have any questions, if you're listening in, we're just talking about our tech and business type tech career, how much we've made, challenges we've faced. So if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat box. Okay, Yudi. So after how long did you work as a trainer? And what was like the hardest thing you faced as a technical trainer in your role?
So I worked with that company because my role changed, being there
Yeah.
for a while. So I worked there for about 3 years. And I would say, getting off the ground was the hardest part because it's, yes, I like to help people, and yes, I'm good with tech, but when you're then put on the spot to constantly do it day in, day out for hours, you're bound to make some slip ups or not be cognizant of some certain things, plus the culture shock.
Yeah.
Like one time, I think this was my first week teaching. There was this, while I was training, there was a consultant there who, this dude was challenging me in my own class, and I'm like, okay, do you want to learn? Do you
I'm the captain here.
like, do you want to take over? So, and you know I didn't at the time, because I hadn't been in that classroom setting a lot. I didn't quite know how to handle it, and that was one of the feedback that I got. Don't engage when you see that. Just tell them we'll handle the questions together after class,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, rather than stopping the whole lecture and then
Dealing with that person.
doing this whole dance with that person. So that was one of the tougher things. The other thing as well was there was a certain course that I was supposed to teach, but uh, I wasn't well prepared. And
Um,
please, people, if someone offers you something, it sounds good. Uh, just make sure you're ready to take it on. That's what I'll say, because it's your brand that's on the line. So all I needed to all I needed to have asked for was maybe more time. I didn't know I could ask for more time, which is again a culture shock thing. Like back home, they tell you
right.
to do it, you just
Just do it. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
you
You
know you're exactly. But for these guys, they were like, "Oh, you should have just said, because I wasn't well prepared." And when the students were, or consultants, sorry, were asking me questions, sometimes I got stumped, and I was also frustrated with myself because I was like, "I can do this. I just needed more time," because there was a lot of other things that were, garnering my attention at the time. But
welcome.
hey, we survived,
We
and I
try.
can honestly tell you, for those courses, after that, never again. The feedback was like in the 90s, because we get anonymous feedback. So the percentages were very high, 90s constantly, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I deliver quality. That's what I do.
Okay. Okay.
We gotta speak.
Okay.
Don't mind me. But I that's what it became. And then while I was there, because of my penchant for wanting to explore different things. I can't just keep teaching the same thing over and over. I had a lot more opportunities, you know, um, come
Yeah.
up, and we'll get to that. But yeah, that's what it was like.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing, because Grace just even said good tips in the chat for sure. And I think another piece too is that I think as underrepresented people in tech, that is very not representative of people who look like us. When we get new gigs, like we want to excel, we want to go to the moon on like day one, and we forget to give ourselves that grace so that it's always
I
a learning.
love that word, grace.
You have to give
Oh,
yourself. I feel like sometimes it's easy to forgive everybody else and give everybody else grace and make excuses for them, except your own self.
yeah.
So it's just like a reminder, really, that when you're starting, there's a learning curve, and that's okay. And again, that culture shock part. I think for me, when I started my job, one thing that was very important for me was to like talk to people who were already in the role before me and like find a group of allies, so to speak, and be like, okay, you guys, like I'm experiencing this. Is this normal? Before they fire me. It's normal. They're like, no, girl, you're killing it. I'm like, oh, thank you. So okay. So when you now I'm just looking at time, and we have some questions in the chat. So please definitely keep your questions coming. We'll answer them, I promise, in the last 5-10 minutes. But I wanted to now focus. So how did you now make that switch? Because you've gotten all that experience, you got skilled, you worked a lot as a technical trainer, you got to a peak of where you were giving the best you could in that within that role. How did you make the switch to becoming a cloud consultant? And how did you get your Accenture gig? Please tell the people.
Oh my god, those are such good stories. Okay, buckle up, people, because it's about to get real. So for while I've been teaching a bunch of different technical courses, and I was really good at it, right? And I was already getting antsy. I wanted the next thing, and my manager, well,
At the time.
okay, At the time, she was my manager. She became a manager after, but she was a senior trainer. And she's like, okay, we have this need to also train our consultants in cloud, that she can cover the Azure part, that she's comfortable with that, but that we need somebody for AWS, and would I be interested? And this was just on a random day. I was just walking across the hall. Typically, I always smile, say hi, how are you? She's a lovely lady, and we just got talking. So first thing, the relationship, because she saw how authentic I was and how good I was at my job, which is why she felt comfortable saying, hey, I think you're going to be good for this. I didn't ask. I didn't even know that that was something that was there.
That
Right?
right there is sponsorship.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sponsorship. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So to prep for it, this was around when the pandemic started in March of 2021. So I took some time, I gave myself about, I'll say, let's just say 6 weeks. Give
Yeah.
myself 6 weeks. Yeah, sometimes I did have to train, but I would spend, after hours or during whenever I had slots during my day, and I would study for I was taking an AWS associate level exam. So I studied hard for that. And, everything was brand new, but it was a fun challenge at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was really learning a lot. And then I passed my exam. Um, and, when I passed, again, with all the learning resources and everything, it was just such a relief. My body was complaining, from all the hours sitting, but it was good to see that it paid off. Right.
Yeah.
So after that was done, because that was a prerequisite for me to then be able to lead that AWS initiative. I then started training our consultants in the AWS Restart program. So if you look on my LinkedIn, I have something that says Restart AWS Certified Restart Instructor or something like that.
Let me just pause you right there and plug you real quick. So my girl has a whole LinkedIn course around getting started with
Oh
AWS.
yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yes,
I'm
yes.
like, listen, and this course she launched only a couple months ago and it has thousands of learners already. So if you're interested in understanding cloud and like where to start there. It's on LinkedIn, and I will put the link in the chat soon. Okay, please continue.
So and when I then had, I did the first round, I trained people. And part of what I tend towards as well, again, quality. So I'd see some things, in terms of maybe labs that aren't working right or working the way I know they should. Again, because I studied hard for that certification exam that gave me that foundation. I'm then talking with AWS support to be like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? And classes still have to keep going.
Yeah.
And of course, also finding workarounds for that. So when I was done, it was like a 12, 13-week long course, the first round anyway.
Okay.
There was a lot of great feedback, from the consultants that took the course, from my managers, people around me, and then others. I also had people from the UK office sitting on my class, and then when they were done too, they also had a lot of good things to say because I was on it. Like, when you love something, yes, it's
Translate.
work, but it makes it a little easier because you're like, I want this person to have the same joy, the same fun that I've had with this particular thing.
Okay.
So I was doing that. I did that the first round, helped with enabling other regions. So in North America, we had US, we had Canada, we had the UK, we had Australia, we had APAC, a bunch of other places, helping them get all of that set up. And then as part of that, then I got the official title change to, what is it called again? Tech Ops slash AWS team
Amazing.
lead. That's that was what it was like. And then there was something else you
And
mentioned.
how much did your pay increase by, give or take, by when you got that promotion?
So yeah, about that. Now see here, sometimes things don't work out quite the way you want it to happen. There was a lot of politics and everything. And unfortunately, the pay rise that I was expecting did not come through. There were a lot of,
Yes.
let's just say the sign off for that was just, yeah, let's just leave it as that.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's totally fine. I wanted you to just say that piece about like it
Yeah.
doesn't, the fact that you got a promotion. Like I wanted, it doesn't always mean that it will come with like a big fact check. And I wanted us to just talk about that. Grace is like, nah, not Jenny taking the lights. Well, the tea that we're having right now, the conversation. And I see your question. We're definitely going to come to it, I promise. I know I'm just looking at the time here. Oh, so there's the link to the course in the chat as well for anyone who's curious about getting into cloud. Please definitely check it out. And so, when you got your team lead role, UD, how did you not get your Accenture gig? Like, real quick in a minute or so, just round and tell us how you got the cloud role at Accenture.
I got it through a friend. So she, she'd said a recruiter reached out to her, person, because she works for another consulting firm, and the recruiter reached out to her to see if she would be interested in taking on a cloud gig with Accenture, and she's like, "Well, I do certain things, but not that particular aspect. Cloud's not really my thing. I focus more on data privacy." So she then told me about it. I was like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds so difficult. Plus, I read the job description. I'm
Look, I
like,
don't have 5 years of experience in cloud.
job descriptions can humble you. That's what
Listen,
else.
I just sent a job description to a friend right now, and so she said to me, like somebody I used to know from like my very first program. I just sent it to her on LinkedIn not too long ago, and she said this to me. She's like, "Oh, I've only because the role required that they have 5+ years experience in managing a team." She's like, "Oh, and I just started managing a team last year." And I said this to her. I'm like, "Listen, sis, like." Experience is gathered in is measured in years, but it's not gathered in years. Some people, if you're fast, it takes you 6 months to gather what people will learn in 5 years, and they'll ask you for 5 years experience. But also, most importantly, somebody closed their eyes and just created that job description. So you to close your eyes and apply to that job description. Don't count yourself out because you never know. You may be the fact that you have 9 out of the 10 things, 7 out of the 10 things. You don't know if those 3 things are not even as important, but we're just like, let me just toss off
You
everything.
know, never
But
know what unicorn we'll find out there. Yeah.
and now, so imagine if you counted yourself out. So your friend referred you to the role, correct?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. And so, what would you say is the compensation range for someone in a role like yours who's trying to get into cloud?
So it depends on how much, because I have a lot of technical experience already,
Yeah.
and then adding cloud. Now, if you're just like fresh out of school, I may not be able to speak to that, but speaking from my experience, I
Yes.
would say that you're looking at 6 figures. So we're working with maybe 100 and something to maybe 120, that kind of thing. Maybe on the lower end, you're getting 88, 96, that kind of thing. And on the higher end, maybe 120.
Thank you so much for sharing. Like, I'm all about, like, as you know, transparency and giving folks resources. But I really appreciate you agreeing to like come up here and share your tea. And I wish we had more time. Like, we're already at 28 minutes. Can you believe it? Like, time flies. But
Give us more time.
I
Jeez.
know, I wish. Okay, maybe we can go like 5 minutes over. I just want to be respectful of folks' time, but we have questions to actually answer.
Okay.
Vladislav is asking, he says, "Hey guys, what's your advice for a front end engineer trying to move to Canada?" This is very broad, and I don't know how to take on this question.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the technical one, like Auntie that can code. So please take this on in like 30 seconds.
Well, look for remote opportunities instead. Start with that. Start with, because at least you'll be able to start gathering some experience from a Canadian employer. Now, if you're then looking to move into Canada, that's when we then start talking about, okay, is it permanent residency you want to use? Do you want to come as a student? All that good stuff. But Janey goes over that in her YouTube video, so you can watch that as
Yeah,
well.
actually, let me put a link to my YouTube channel where I talk about like coming to Canada as a PR. But I'll also just add that like join groups that cater to technologists in Canada ahead of time, so you can start to understand the type of roles and opportunities out there. Another overlooked avenue is startups. So there's a lot of incubators across Canada, and a lot of people want to work with the big firms like the
Yeah.
FIs and the consulting firms like the big four, all of that. But that's a lot of noise there. Like startups are always looking for talent, especially tech talent. So that's usually a place to start. Okay, dokie.
Sorry, just one other thing for Vlad. As much as possible, again, you also want to have attractive skills. Yes, front end engineers are already rare, but if you add cloud on top of that, oh Lord, you're going to be getting recruiters left, right, and center. So, yeah.
And so again, if you want to know how to get into cloud as a front end engineer, check UD's course. From there. Okay, we have the next question. Deborah is asking, "Thank you for all the tips. I've been learning a lot." Yes, finally, we love that. How do you network and utilize those connections without looking like you were just taking advantage of people? Before I answered that, Yudi, before you drop your 2 cents on that, one thing that I was going to say I picked from the lesson when you were sharing your story, and this kind of answers your question is, first of all, like when you absolutely love what you do and what you love the passion you're trying to put towards what you're interested in, people can see that. People are excited for you and they want to help you. When you talked about your friend referring you for the role, you see how your friend was able to like offer you the gig. It's like if you come from I'm trying to offer you something, I'm not trying to take advantage of you. So also while you're asking people for favors, listen out for what they're interested in. A lot of times when we're networking, we keep thinking, okay, what can this person do for us, versus what are they going through? Like no matter what level they're in, we're all human beings. We need support somewhere. Did they just start something like a small business that they need someone to help with accounting sheets, or someone to help find leads for them on LinkedIn, or someone to create a deck for them, or someone to come like take minutes in the meeting? There's always things you can do for a person. So usually I like to go in with, what can I do for you? How can I help? And then I share like top 3, 5 things that I can do for the person. And usually once you help people, they're very inclined to say, what can I do for you? And they're like, I'm glad you asked. So that's how I approach like networking and asking people for favors without feeling like I'm taking advantage of them if I don't know them. But over the years, another thing that's also very important to look for is to build your own tribe. I have a tribe of people now, by God's grace, that I don't have to add all that intro. I need you tomorrow at 10, and they're like, sure, because now we've built that long-term relationship of giving and serving each other, that we can now ask those type of favors. Yudi, please, anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, that was perfect.
Love it. Thank you. Okay. See, Grace actually loves the fact that your friend put you on. So let's actually connect. And you guys, please join the network over at Immigrant. I'll put the link for you to connect. Oh, so many questions coming in. Can you imagine when we're at time?
I know, at the worst times.
I know. So Bipe is asking, what is your advice to someone who is not from a traditional tech background and looking to get into tech roles like technical PMs or project managers? How would you answer that one?
Okay, so um, when people say traditional tech background, honestly, I'm not really sure what that means because we have a lot of paths into tech. So, first of all, remove that completely from your mindset. What you have is relevant. The question is, how can we have transferable skills if you're then working in a purely technical environment? Now, tech is different though. Is it tech in terms of software development or tech in terms of cloud? Everything may require slightly different sets of skills. But what I'll say generally as a project manager, having your PMP is key. Having your Scrum Master as well is definitely helpful. Those project management skills are transferable regardless of the kind of work you're doing. And then be open to starting maybe as instead of project manager, start with project coordinator. That's a little lower, but you can get in and start getting those experiences you want.
You nailed it completely. And so that piece about traditional tech background, it really doesn't exist right now in 2022. The fact is that the cat is out of the bag. Everyone knows that we all play in our bachelors. So it's more about the
I did
certification.
not play in the bachelor's.
Okay, you're smart. I'm sorry. It's more about like the certifications and the skills you've gathered that you can transfer into tech. And definitely, if you're looking for more support, please join the network at Invitation. These are the conversations we're always looking to have. Sean has like a good comment here. Great job. Keep inspiring with your skills and platform. Thank you so much. I think Sean also answered your question where you said any advice for individuals with non-tech background. Here we go again, looking to transition into tech. But now he's saying that he or she is currently enrolled for the AWS Cloud Practitioner. Yudi, after taking this course, what is your advice for next steps for Oluwaseun?
Okay. So when you finish your cloud practitioner, make sure you take that exam. Okay. There are other cloud providers like Azure and GCP, but I'd say the two main ones, AWS and Azure. And personally, I really like AWS. So
Of course.
anyway, and when we say getting into cloud, cloud is technical generally, even though there are aspects of it that are not. So if you know you want to do the more technical stuff, then I would suggest going for associate level exams for AWS. That gives you the technical, practice and everything. and makes you very attractive to recruiters, because recruiters will literally put in their searches or whatever,
Yeah.
the associate level exams. Because cloud practitioner is more for like business users. Oh, I just want to know what AWS is in general. I don't need to know how you configure stuff. Yeah, that's what it's more about. So what I recommend is take your certifications and then have mini projects, where you start building things in the cloud and seeing how things work. That's a good starting point. And of course, update your LinkedIn. That's how people find you.
Update your LinkedIn. And LinkedIn allows you to have 50 skills, fill it all. The good
Mhm.
place to start is use the job descriptions of roles that you're interested in, find out what all the buzzwords are, write them out on an Excel sheet, rank them in order of priority and importance as they appear on the job descriptions you've seen, and then use those skills and fill them out. Ask people to endorse you, classmates, colleagues, all of that sort. And that
Yeah,
is the best step to get in eyeballs on your profile. Because at the end of the day, 85 to 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find talent. I
yeah.
just think I know we're focused a little bit on the tech aspect of getting into tech, but I wanted to just shed light on the business aspect of tech that people always don't think about. And there's definitely more business in tech, more than project management and business analysis. A lot of times when we come to a new country, we just hear from other people that this is where they are in, and we just say, sure, we want to do that. There's tech sales. And tech sales is not crazy as we usually think, oh my God, I don't want to be sales. It's actually a really fun career. There's also partnerships. And sales and partnerships are different because usually once somebody buys a product, somebody needs to maintain the relationship, which can look like customer success, relationship management. There's roles like solutions architect, which is pretty much say there's a cloud platform. Someone needs to demonstrate to the client or the business provider how to use this platform. So there's presentation in there. There's tech recruiters where your job is to find tech talent. So there's a lot of tech roles that do not require you to have certifications. And I just wanted to shed light on that. Please, you were going to say?
You said solutions architect. Just for solutions architect, I've seen that some job descriptions may want a technical one, and
That's right.
some want like pre-sales, which is what you explained, where they just need like, you know, they just know how to make it work, but they may not do to in anything too crazy.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Guys, we're at time. I hope this was helpful. We just wanted to quickly chit chat, banter, and bring faces that show that there's actually Black immigrants, Black women in tech, and how diverse our tech roles have been. We wanted to be transparent about compensation. We're going to keep having more of these conversations happening in the network, immigration.com, which is Canada's premier network of immigrant professionals who are looking to succeed in tech and business. We launched the network late last year. We have over 200 professionals and members in the network. So if you're interested in continuing the conversation, sign up, and we'll see you in another event or another chit chat. Have a lovely evening. Thank you so much, Uduak, for giving your time, your knowledge, your expertise. Can't thank you enough. Can never give you back this time, but I probably will find a way to do so. Have a good one, everybody. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye, all.
Bye.